Okay, so starting the stream here. Let's grab a couple of monitoring things and throw them over here. And we are going to go to the live dashboard. And it says that my stream health is looking good. Okay, stream is healthy, no active stream. 9:39. Okay, I think we're good. So we'll pop back over to the game and do the intro. Welcome to Essence Stream. I am Sean. I will be playing not Euro Truck, American Truck Simulator tonight. And I would like New Mexico DLC. Sean, I will be playing let's go ahead and mute that. Not Euro Truck, American Truck Simulator tonight. Okay, sorry, that's me looking at my chat over there. Okay, so I'll be doing American Truck Simulator. I am playing in New Mexico, and among other mods, I've got a lot of mods going, but one of the mods that I am doing, and actually I wanted to look at that. I don't remember if I downloaded any new mods since then. Nope, I did not. Okay, so there's a real economy mod on, which means that the $1,792 I've made, I've fought long and hard for. Actually, I got most of it from the initial, you do the initial job, and it was $1,500 or whatever. And then on subsequent jobs, I have lost money and gained money, and I'm finally, after I got through streaming last time, which would be stream number 2, I actually played a little bit on my own, did 2 or 3 more jobs. And the last job that I streamed on here was actually delivering to Roswell. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up in Roswell. That way it's picking up where I left off. I do not, with the economy mod, I do not have the ability of buying my own truck yet. So I am doing quick jobs until then. So let's see what we've got. Roswell to Albuquerque or Roswell to La Cruces. Or Roswell to Santa Fe. I have not been to Santa Fe yet, so it's not the highest paying job, although it's close. And it takes me to a new area. Looks like I will be driving a Kenworth W900, 550 horsepower, and an 18-speed Eaton Fuller transmission. So first thing is I need to set up my H shifter and my cabin. You'll see in the lower left-hand corner, I've got a camera going, and that's because I have 3 screens, and that way you guys can see what I can see, and we can go from there. So that's kind of the plan. Let me turn on my phone here, assuming it's on and plugged in. Anyway, so first thing I need to do is actually set up my truck. So I have an 18-speed transmission. Oh, so I used to have my DualShock controller sitting here, and I just moved it tonight, trying something a little bit new. So let's see how this works out for me, because it's now kind of out of sight, and I may end up switching things around again, frankly. In fact, before we even get started, I'm already going to switch that up. So I am going to move this guy right over here, and not sure what to do with my phone here so that I can kind of monitor the chat with it. I also turned on a voice chat thing that I think will help me keep track of if anybody says anything. But anyway, so first off, let's do the shifter. So it's going to be controls. I think the last thing I did was a 13 speed, and for some reason I'm going to have to drop back out because I did not plug in my shifter before I started up the game. So I will be back here shortly. Let's get you plugged in. Where are you not plugged in? Let's see. I'm going to just turn that off for a minute so I don't make everybody sick while I look for my USB. Here I thought I had gotten everything checked, and I did not. There we go. Okay. I knew I was looking like I was short one. Okay. Now that can start up. I don't want to hold down the space bar. Okay, I should be back now. And now I have a light on my G920, which looks like I'm probably better off than I was a minute ago. Ooh, I am overdriving just a bit. So I'm going to turn my gain down. I think the game's launching, but I think it is not launching, actually. So let's go ahead and kill Steam really quickly. Looks like it got confused. And then we'll go ahead and go back to the top, sort by that. Try again. Okay, that looks more promising. Anyway, so I've got my setup here. So I've got a G920, and then I use a DualShock for a lot of the other things. I've obviously got my keyboard here, but I've got everything mapped to the DualShock and mostly remember where it is, so I don't really need that anymore. And I am using SoftTH to use my triple head setup, which means if you look up here, I have to run the 32-bit version. I tried and I could not get it to run on 64-bit SoftTH, so I'm out of luck there. And then as it says down below, I also have a Mega Shifter. I tagged it and I put it in the description. I actually just got that earlier this week, 3-4 days ago now. And it looks like everything is still... that's too bad. Okay, so let's do this guy. And then let's go with the Mega Shifter. And then I also need you. So most of it is actually mapped by Steam and whatnot, so I shouldn't have to remap most of it. So if we go accelerator, that's right, okay. That looks okay. Clutch, look down, look up. I don't care because I'm just going to do that with the mouse if I have to. Wonder if I can get rid of the dead zone on that guy. Looks like I can. And I can probably get rid of the dead zone on that guy, okay. And then I need to go to an 18 speed. And right here, I need to do toggle 1 is this guy, I think. I always set them up backwards is the problem I face here. Okay, and they are that type. And then other than that, over here, I need to just remove a couple of these assignments and assign, let's see, the engine brake is this guy. And then my cruise settings, that's how I set my cruise, increase, decrease, resume, those were all right. And I think I am okay. Man, sorry, that I hate it when I forget to start up like that. Okay, now that those are set the way I think they should be, let's go ahead and adjust the seat. By default, the trucks are all, trying to get you up so that you can see as much as possible on one screen. But since I have multiple screens, it doesn't actually work all that well for me. So we're going to go in and I will adjust my seat so that I've got the right mirror over here and the left mirror over here as much as possible. See my my dash a little bit. We'll scoot back just a little bit. We're pretty good on side to side, which is normal. I'll turn my head just a bit until I can see both sides. And then I'm gonna, actually I'm gonna do that just a little bit more and crane my head down. The only thing I might have to do is look up at stoplights because I may not be able to see them all the way. I'm actually gonna go like that though. There we go. That's probably pretty good. We'll see when we come to our first stoplight here and get on the road. But that's about how I usually have it. So let's go ahead and I'm used to it all being over here. So let's go ahead and start the truck. Put on the parking brake and let's take a look at our truck. So we are hauling 16 tons of equipment. Okay. In a Kenworth W900. There's my exit, and we are going to be going from Roswell up to Santa Fe. I have yet to go to Santa Fe on this game, on this profile. I have been there before, but I think I've only been there once so far, so it is still fairly new for me up that way. So let's see if I got my... Nope, I've got my toggles backwards. Okay, let me go fix those toggles really quickly. Okay, options, controls. Okay, toggle 1. Nope, that's the same one I just set. U. Okay, now we should be good to go there. I'm actually tempted. I'm going to do this because I'm used to doing this guy with my right foot. And I do not want to play happenstance radio. I actually don't want to play any radio. Okay, I'm used to doing all those controls with my right hand, so I'm going to put them back. Sorry, my wife is messaging me. Okay. So, now, I think we are ready to get on the road. There's 1 low, there's 5 low, 1 high. We are good to go. Make sure my Jake brake switch works. Let's get on the road here. I already accidentally removed my parking brake, so that's taken care of. I do not want to rev nearly that high. Oh, come on. Really? Okay. I'll get this shifting down. There we go. That one was much better. Let's turn on my headlights since it's a little... okay. Oh. Over here. And we are on the road. Okay. 2 shakes. Okay. I feel like I'm almost looking down too much. I am. We've got to adjust that. That's going to bug me. Okay. So cabin adjustments. You know what? I can keep this guy right here. We'll see how that works. I don't think that's going to work though. Huh. Okay, so we are going to sit a little bit lower and look up a little. That's probably pretty good. That doesn't feel like I'm craning my neck down quite so badly. Oh, I totally got a green light and I'm not taking it, but I'm also not in gear, so... And I made it. I didn't think I was going to make that. Okay. 35 is my speed limit. Looks like it's raining, so I might as well turn those on. Okay. Okay, so not off to the greatest start here, but we'll make it work. Let me bring my microphone down and towards me just a little bit. I want to clear my hands but not block the screen too much. So I was not planning on streaming tonight, so I don't have anything prepared to talk about per se, but my wife actually ended up getting called into work, so which is also why I'm chatting with her a little bit here, because it kind of was a change of plans. Anyway, but it does allow me to stream, so I guess that's not the end of the world. I enjoy it for the most part. So one of the main things I'm trying that's different today versus yesterday or whenever I streamed last time is actually I've got a service that should be, one of the things I've been struggling with is keeping an eye on the chat. So I've got a website that's supposed to be reading off any chats I receive. That way I don't have to keep my eye on the chat so much. I should be able to hear it. I'm not sure if I actually like the idea of having being recorded on the archive of the stream, but I don't know as it's necessarily a bad thing either. But I saw another streamer doing it. I was like, oh, that's one way to do it. So I'll give it a try, at least for this stream. If anybody watches and you like it or don't like it, let me know. Anybody who happens to pop on the chat, although, you know, since that's live, you probably won't hear me say this in the first place, but if it's something that you like, definitely let me know, and I'll ask somebody at the point of anybody joining. So I'm a little excited that Euro Truck Simulator is on 1.30 now, which it looks like there's only minor changes from this version with ATS, but that they will be updating Euro Truck or ATS to go to 1.3 shortly thereafter, and it stopped raining. So that could be fun to get those updates on this platform. Okay, we are up to speed at this point, and I'm going to change up what's showing on my dash, because I did not set it. Okay, we're gonna cruise along. This is not an extremely heavy load. Like I said, it's only 16 tons, 32,000 pounds. I mean, I'm almost up to normal weight, but it's not as heavy as I'm often hauling since owning the heavy DLC, so it doesn't feel all that heavy to me. Let's see. I can't quite get over yet. Probably okay at this point. We'll see if he slams on his brakes. I think I made it without cutting him off. Yeah, he's still there. Anyway, one of the things that I do notice, I love my triple screen setup, but I've only got a GTX 1060, so running this many pixels, something like 6,500 pixels by 1080, is a bit much for it, so it struggles sometimes. Most of the time it does decently well, and this isn't a game where you need 60 frames, so that helps. Man, the speedometer is way off on this truck, so I've got it set to 59, and it's reading as 59, but on the speedometer it's saying like 54, so I'm like 10% off on this speedometer. So whether that was a design choice, you know, the idea that, well, your speedometer is not always right, or whether whoever modded this truck just doesn't have the speedometer calibrated right yet, I'm leaning towards the latter option, but I could be wrong. So anyway, my speedometer is quite a bit off. I looked down and was like, man, I'm all slow. But I'm not actually really slow. Looks like this one's going to be more of a relaxed drive than some of mine the other night. Just looking at the road, I guess we're going to get on a little bit more wiggly road there on the 84. Most of it's just going to be, looks like open interstate, so not too much exciting stuff going on there. So there's that. I was listening to a podcast again today. I like to listen to podcasts. Now that doesn't mean I always listen to podcasts, because often I don't get, you know, doing other things like trucking instead. I've thought about listening to podcasts while I truck, but it's not really something I can do while I stream and truck. It's something I could do on my own when I truck, but not when streaming as well. That's just too many things for me to concentrate on. So, but I was listening to a podcast earlier, which was, and I talked about this a little bit last time I streamed. It was talking about identity politics. Oh, sweet, one of the random, hey look, here's a repair section going on. Cool. I'm going to get over for a minute because I think there's someone on my tail. It looks like I have a retarder too. Anyway, way station. Do I need to stop? You can bypass. I don't have to stop. Okay. Anyway, talking about identity politics and stuff, and specifically talking about this rash of people who. Okay, let's get. Oh! No, actually, this is where I want to turn. Rash of like college campuses and stuff. Sorry, I totally lost my gearing there. College campuses where they refuse to let people speak, infringing upon, now as I say this, I realize that, the First Amendment only applies to the government, right? It's not a First Amendment infringement for private parties to not, whoa. Oh, that guy totally almost hit me. It's not a First Amendment infringement for private parties to not allow people to speak. That is not a First Amendment infringement. It is still an infringement of their freedom of speech, but it's not a First Amendment. Now, you could also argue that the freedom of speech is not always honored, and I am speeding pretty heavily. And because there are times, many times actually, different, maybe many is the wrong thing to say, but there are instances where the freedom of speech is not recognized as overriding other rights. For instance, if you are inciting people to hurt other people, and you can show that no, this is actually leading to other people's danger, then their right to safety overrides your freedom of speech. But greater than this, they were talking about the things like happened with Charles Murray, and I'm trying to think of the other people. There's been a rash of them as of late. Whether you agree with what Charles Murray has to say or anybody else that this happened to. Man, this guy is kind of slow. That they go to a college campus to speak, and rather than letting the ideas be heard, people shout them down and refuse to let it be heard. And this goes back to some of what I was talking about yesterday, where we have this tendency to listen to our own ideas, or people who share our own ideas, and not listen to those who don't. And so this leads to that problem even more, because you end up not listening to people who have different opinions than you, and maybe legitimately it is hate speech or other things that are the excuses for not letting them speak. But it's something that should be done very carefully, because if you don't let people speak, then how are you going to get different opinions or get exposed to different opinions? This is going to be a long intersection, I think. Okay, so we've got that white car back there. Anyway, but how do you get exposed to new ideas and actually, okay, are you not going to wait? Are you going to wait? Okay, I'm going for it. I'm not going for it. I'm going for it now. But how do you find out whether your ideas are right if you're never exposed to any other ideas? How do you put your ideas to the test? It's one. I am over revving. I'm all over the place and going up on the curb. But how do you learn any other point of view? How do you come to decide whether your point of view is correct if you don't ever listen to another point of view. Now, for anybody who's listened to my podcast yesterday, this is actually in direct relation. It was not the same episode of the podcast, and I should have gotten over earlier, but that we tend to, as we listen to ideas that mirror our own or that are similar to our own, then we become more radicalized. We become more extreme in our views, and radicalized often has a negative connotation, so that's maybe not a good word to use here. But we become more extreme in our views, whatever those views are. The more we talk to people who share our views, the more our view is reinforced, and so the more we feel like that must be the correct view, and the more strongly we hold it. So if we refuse to let other people voice their views, here's my exit, then we are just working to make ourselves more closed-minded. Now, closed-minded, I have a hard time seeing that in a positive light, although I suppose it could be seen in a positive light. That's just one that I have a hard time not seeing a negative connotation on. Okay. Anyway, as we seek to be more open-minded, to give, I guess, room for debate for all ideas. Now you could say, well, some ideas aren't worth debating, and that I have a hard time with that. Now, I'm not arguing that all ideas should have equal time. That's a different thing. But that all ideas should at least be heard, because in the realm of ideas, the way that you defeat a bad idea is with good ideas, with arguments, with good arguments, and proof that idea is wrong. So, going back to where I started with this, if you are on a college campus, say, or it could be a public speech as well. Not necessarily a college campus is a public sphere, but it's also a private institution to an extent, depending on whether it's state or private school. But, if you've got someone who's coming to speak to a group of people to express opinions that may be against the norm, maybe not what, maybe it's okay, I'm totally, no, I'm not. It may be say it's a liberally leaning college, and you've got someone who is right-leaning who's coming to speak, and the people there at the college may not want to hear it. I mean, that may not be what they want to hear. So then you may have pushback on whether you want to have them there to speak or not. And as an institute of learning, then maybe you should be saying, well, it might actually be better for you to hear this and come to your own conclusions about the arguments, rather than not allowing them to speak in the first place. So that's kind of what this podcast, the gist of this podcast is that if we don't allow this ability to speak ideas, then the ideas won't get defeated. Now, personally, I was one of those with this last election who was blown away. There we go. In the last U.S. election, I was surprised. And one of the reasons I was surprised, now I think I made some hasty generalizations and whatnot in my shortly after the election, my assumptions about my fellow Americans, although some of those assumptions have also come true, is that there were a whole lot more people who, at least if they weren't racist, didn't find racism to be that big of a deal, because they were okay with what was going on, rather than not voting for somebody because of this. Then they seem to be okay with it, or they even defended the white nationalists or whoever who were there. So, long story short, even if I don't agree with those ideals, even if that's against my against what I see as being okay, maybe I still should be leaving room to hear those arguments to find out whether I'm actually misunderstanding the arguments, or maybe I have a false view. For instance, and this is a for instance, I grew up in a small town in Utah, a small town called Blanding. And when I say small town, I mean small. 3,000 people. I thought it was 4,000, but it's actually 3,000. So, that's, we even inflated our numbers because we didn't want to seem so small. But 3,000 people, that was the size of the town. And it is the largest town in the county. So not only is it only 3,000 people, but it is also the largest town in the county. So the county is, I think it's the largest county in the state of Utah. I know that. And it's probably among the larger counties in at least the contiguous United States. Alaska, I'm sure, has larger ones. I'm sure California and Texas have larger ones. But it's a big county. And it doesn't have very many. And if anybody's been watching the goings on, it's also where Obama made a new monument, the Bears Monument. So it's got oodles of just empty land out there. 15,000 people in the whole county, and 3,000 of them lived in my town. So anyway, so that was kind of my background, right? And so I came from a very right-leaning town, and today I am at odds with many of the people and their political views in my town. But now that doesn't mean that I'm automatically right. Man, I totally did not get that gear worth a hoot. That doesn't mean I'm right on everything. We have different views, but that doesn't mean I'm right. I'd like to think that I'm right. I mean, that's why I hold that point of view, right? But that doesn't mean that I actually am right. Okay. So I guess since then I've changed my mind. Since I held many of the views that they hold, I've changed my mind some. But what I was originally getting at here is, let me see where that little guy is. Gun control. So I grew up with a very non-nuanced, maybe that's not it. Where am I on the map? Oh, I totally went in the wrong gate. So apparently I was supposed to go in over there. So I'm gonna have to, okay, let's back out over here. Anyway, so I grew up with a very non-nuanced view of gun control, and that all gun control that could ever be thought of, I know, would be a bad thing. That was my view growing up. And actually for the beginning of my adult life, that's exactly what it was. I've actually since changed my view a little bit, and I could get into that on here. We'll see where conversation takes me. But one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of is that the way that people represent the other side is not actually how the other side feels. In both cases, they misrepresent the arguments.
Salvador Hernandez, thanks for following.
They on both sides. Well, thanks, Salvador. That was my little voice thingy telling me, "Hey, someone's done something." Thank you for following the channel there. So you end up with both sides misrepresenting the other person's view in order to make their view stronger, known as a straw man argument, and then that makes it easier to defend your own position. I'm totally in here the wrong way, and this is going to come back to bite me, because if I had come in this way, then I would have swung to the right and gone that way, but I didn't. So except that it also says no right turns. So I guess I wouldn't have been able to do that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to just pull out on the road, and then I'm going to attempt to back down this. Anybody who has watched my previous videos knows I am not that great at backing. It is still a work in progress, and I do not think I'm going to clear that. Okay. Anyway, and so what happens is you end up with straw man arguments on both sides of the equation. Well, whether you're pro or against any given topic, in this case I'm mentioning gun control, but whether you're for or against it, they represent you with a non-nuanced straw man, and those are the only two ways. Either you're in support of all forms of gun control and want to take away all guns, or you're not. There's no in between. There's no nuance to any of it, and thus it's much easier to defeat your argument. I have no idea. I cannot see out there. Yeah. So it's much easier for your opponent to defeat your argument because it's so simple, and what they have to do is, instead of defeat your argument, they actually seek to defeat their version of your argument. Okay, so now I'm going to do this third-person view, partially. Yeah, I'm backing up. So you're going to back away from me or what? I may have to come back here. I wonder if I can, like, go around the block or something. There's not really a block here, though. I mean, like, you know what? I bet I can. I bet I can find a spot up here to turn around. We're gonna do this. Anyway, and so then you end up with this misrepresentation, further polarizing people. Now, this is actually a road you're not supposed to go down, and we're probably gonna end up in a dead end here. And it's an invisible wall right there. Apparently there's an invisible wall right there. I was like, did my trailer catch on something? I thought that I had gotten rid of the invisible walls, but maybe not in all places. And there's that invisible wall again. Anyway, and so then you end up hearing only the opponent's view of your argument. So if I go and I hang out with a bunch of Democrats or liberals, then I'm only going to hear one side of the argument here. Yeah, you want to honk at me? I can honk back. I'm not going anywhere right now. Anyway, so then you only hear one side, and we are in a complete and utter standstill. And if I don't get out of here, nobody's going to move. There we go. Okay, do I have my graphics settings turned down or something? Because there is like no reflections going on here. So let's see what I've got here. Anyway, and then we fall into identity politics, where we don't ever reflection detail. That looks fine. That truck just does not look very detailed. That's right there in front of me. Anyway, so then we get into identity politics, where we're not, where our politics define us. They define a part of us, and that makes it where we are unable to change our point of view, because changing our point of view is redefining who we are, and we're not willing to do that. They're evolutionary reasons why we're not willing to do that, and so then we end up just getting stuck in the same rut, and we end up I don't know, just following the Democratic Party is pro-choice, anti-gun, whatever, pro-environment, all these things. And so if you're pro-choice, you're likely going to be pro all those other things that the Democratic Party supports. Okay, Schneider, go. I'm causing a major Okay, now, the question is, how am I gonna... I think I'm just gonna turn. Okay, so now I've got to figure out how I'm going to actually do this delivery, because I've still got the problem of if I go in there backwards, I'm not going to be able to get back around. Can I go around the back end? Ah, you know what? I think I can go around the back end. I can totally go around the back. Ooh, that might make it a whole lot easier. Okay, we are going to do that. And then you just end up getting farther and farther away from your opponent, rather than coming together and making compromises and making progress. Both of you end up feeling like there's no way you can compromise because, and I'm going the wrong way. Well, except I'm not going to be able to make it if I go this way. And so then both of you end up feeling like there's no way you can compromise because the other is evil beyond belief or whatever. And so then you end up unwilling to change and unwilling to compromise, and nobody makes any progress. And so if you look at, you know, and we're not going to make it through there. Okay, we're gonna try and back it all the way down there then. Not my initial plan, but we are gonna do that. And so then you end up with this, you know, think about the Republican Congress under Obama, where it didn't matter what Obama said. Oh, come on. It didn't matter what he said. There's no way that they're going to do that. They're not gonna pass anything. They're just gonna basically hold a standstill. Now, I would argue that if we had a Democratic-controlled Congress currently, they would probably do the exact same thing to President Trump. They would probably do the exact same thing to Trump. And me and my identity politics, I'm a whole lot more okay with that than I was okay with the Republicans doing that, because the part of me wants to think that that's okay. But that's just me changing my viewpoint based on whether I agree with the people doing it or not. Not based on whether there's any merit to what they're actually doing. Anyway, I've got to figure out what to do here. So I'm going to have to stop talking for a minute. Otherwise, I'm never going to get this trailer in here. I think what I'm going to have to do... okay, go ahead, PT Cruiser. I know! So you're going to have to move. You can't come in here. I hope you know there's no way. I am in quite the pickle here. Okay, so you gonna move yet? Now that I bumped you, are you gonna move? Thank you. I might just end up having to drop my trailer and go tell it to not let me park, because I do not have this parking spot figured out, that's for sure. We'll see though. I haven't given up yet. The rest of it's going to be, how do I get this parked? I'm actually going to try and loop this through here after all, because it might be a better option than... Okay, I'm going to go to this view. And I stalled. And apparently that can fall down. I did not think that was going to be the case. Well, maybe that's the way I can get around that. Is just knock over all the light posts. Well, I'll just knock over that light post, and then I'll go straight through here. And you know what? I'm not even going to be able to get around that side of the building, am I? There's a fence over there. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do this. We're going to auto park. I hate auto parking, but I'm just so stuck. So, anyway, we don't want to get stuck in identity politics. That's what I was trying to get at initially there. Instead, we need to take the chance to look at things. And it's hard, because when things disagree with your worldview, you have an emotional, visceral reaction, and you lash out. I do it too, all the time. It's something I'm trying to fight, but I do it, right? And so if something disagrees with your view, then you lash out, and there's no way you're going to listen. These Kenworth insanely long ones are just funny. Anyway, so we've got to Tucumcari. Where have I not been yet? I haven't been up to Farmington, Ratton, Clovis, Hobbs. Wonder if I've got one that I can go over there. Santa Fe to... We're going there. Okay. So, looks like limestone for 18 tons. I did not see what truck I'm driving or anything, but we're going to head there. Anyway, we need to, overcome that emotional response that happens and look at things on their merit, not based on our emotional response, which is hard. It's so hard to do. Okay, so what am I even hauling? Looks like I'm hauling gravel or stones. Limestone. Ooh, Kenworth 100, huh? I do like these K100s, actually. And part of it, I think, comes from how much I struggle with parking, with backing the trailer, and the short nose helps. I do like Euro Truck better for that reason. So, cabin, let's adjust my seat. Get to where I can see what I need to. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I can back up a little bit more. Turn my head a little bit so I can see all the way over there. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm actually going to back off just one. Okay. And then I need to drop down and aim down. Now, one of the problems with these Kenworths is everything's down so far. So I'm going to drop that a little bit. And that's, let's turn my head a little bit more so the GPS isn't right on the edge there. I'm going to drop and look up and look up. Which means I'm going to lose the very, 500 RPM on my tack, but that's okay because at that point it is stalled anyway. So I should not be hearing it. Okay. Not that guy. Parking brake is working. Let's go ahead and do a tug test here. Put in low range. In low. Oh, that's the other thing I need to do. Is make sure I've got the right tranny chosen. Diagnostics. I have a 18 speed, which I think I'm on a 13 speed right now. So, no, I think I was on an 18 speed, but we're going to make sure. So, anyway, so we don't want to get caught up in that emotional response that happens when somebody challenges our worldview. We want to look at it and say, okay, well, does this argument actually have merit based on the argument alone? Come on. Apparently, I can't get it in gear. Or, instead, and then we have a chance to change our mind, to improve, to learn something new. Come on. Man, I am not getting those gears. But we have a chance to learn something new. Instead of just being stuck in the same rut we've always been in, we can man, that is way down there. You know what? We're going to adjust this. We're going to adjust it just a little bit here. But we want to take those chances. When those chances come along, to learn and to grow, then we should take them and try to make better for ourselves and learn something new. And then maybe we can see that, you know what? People on the other side of the aisle, of the virtual aisle, have a reason to believe what they believe as well, even if I don't necessarily, you know, and maybe in the end I don't think that they're right still. Maybe I still think they're wrong. That's not necessarily bad, you know. I mean, I can't be right and them right at the same time, right? I mean, okay, that's not true. But I may still think that they've come to bad conclusions in the end, but at least I gave their arguments and their I'm still having a hard time finding the right way to look out on this truck. So I may still not agree with them. That is okay. You know, if I give them the chance, if I try and I still don't agree, so I'm going to sit all the way back here, which means that my peripheral vision suffers, but maybe in the end I still don't agree with their point of view, and that's okay. You know, I didn't have to agree with them in the end, but it's good practice to then give them the chance to have me agree with them instead of just ignoring what they say. And sometimes we do this, you know, we have somebody who disagrees with us on one point, and so because they disagree with us on one point, there's no way we're going to agree with them on another point because we disagree with this person. And so then we end up just ignoring everything they might be able to bring to an argument, just because that one piece of argument is something that we disagree with. Now, oftentimes, and I do this too, like I'll have people who post articles from news sources, and I shouldn't even call them news sources because they're not. They're sources of information, but they are not news sources. And I have, I did not stop in time. I have a really hard time, and I keep turning on my radio. And I have a really, really hard time giving that article the time of day, right? It's like, this is not worth my time. And I get in there and I try and read it, and it's just, it's maddening. And I can't do it. And sometimes I just can't do it. You know, that reaction is too strong. And it's probably something I still need to work on, frankly. Because if I expect them in return to be willing to read an article that I recommend to them, I've got one cousin in particular that we go at it with each other quite often, because he has very different points of view to me on many issues that I feel are important, and so we go at it often. Now, interestingly, once in a while there is that time when we coincide, but that is not the norm, and I am going the wrong way. I just about drove off the edge of the world. Hello, edge of the world. I wonder what lake that is. Well, this one didn't have an invisible wall, huh? I was like, where'd that guy just disappear to? I guess I'm gonna turn around and go back the way I'm supposed to be going, since, man, I'm on a roll tonight. Anyway, so this cousin and I often go at it. We're at each other's throat, and we disagree highly on 2 or 3 main topics that we've argued about. Although I would guess that we probably actually disagree on more than that. They just haven't come up yet. But that could just be me assuming that because he has certain political views on some topics, he also has those political views on, you know, the political views I expect him to have on other topics. Now, that having been said, from what I've seen, he is very much in the identity politics sphere. Now, he may say the same thing about me, you know, and I have yet to see him deviate from that on any of the points of politics that we've discussed. Points of politics, points of religion. We're going to start splitting gears here. So, you know, but then he might say the same thing about me. He might just say, you know, Sean, everything we talk about, you're always party line. And I don't like to think of myself as party line. Sorry, I'm adjusting my my camera here midstream, which probably isn't very nice for anybody watching. In fact, let me check my aim now. Oh, it looks okay. You know, and he probably says the same thing about me, that, well, you just play the party line and that's it, which I would probably disagree with, but okay. But that's the way it is. And I probably need to do a more thorough job of, when I'm discussing things with him and my emotions kick in, stepping back. You know, and sometimes we'll go at a row, you know, for a while, and then I'll come back the next day and be like, okay, I was not very nuanced on my approach here. I was not very open. What could I maybe look at differently? And then after a night of sleeping on it, and the emotions have had time to wear off, maybe I'll do a better job at looking at his arguments. Although I would say that more often than not, I just make more cogent arguments on my side, but don't really give his arguments any more time than I did before. So that's probably the truth of the matter. But I'd like to think that I'm a little more open. I know I'm at least a little less emotional when I do that, and so that definitely helps. So the speed limit is 75. And I've got, man, I'm going to get this right by the time I deliver the truck. I've actually got to drop my, that's not what I wanted. That was close. Cabin adjustments. Adjust seat. I've got to move my steering wheel down because it's blocking that little screen on the... There we go. Okay. Whoa, I'm all over the place. Okay. Anyway, but I'm not doing a good job at listening to his point of view either. I let those differences define our relationship for the most part. Now, that having been said, in person we're fairly congenial. It doesn't bother us nearly as much in person, but at least in our online interactions, things are mostly difficult. And it's interesting because I don't agree with him on so many issues. You know, if he posts a joke that I might actually find funny, oftentimes I don't find it funny because it's the fact that he posted it makes me mad, right? You know, it's like, well, if anybody else had posted this, I probably would have laughed at it, but since you posted it, it just makes me mad. And it's interesting because he has a brother, who is much more nuanced in his views. He doesn't agree with me on everything. Ooh, that was close. But he does agree with me on some things. And so I'm a lot more open to the things that he posts than I am to the other cousin, his brother. So anyway, I've seen that a few people have come and gone. It looks almost like I've got one person maybe who's been watching for a while. Maybe it's just that, you know, someone comes and goes and they continue to get the same number there. But if you are the same person who's been on for a while, shout out, thanks for hanging around. And we've got someone stopped on the side of the road there. Man, I am all over the place. I've got to, I guess I'm going pretty fast for this truck, but I'm having a hard time keeping it between the lines here. So I was watching someone else stream earlier today, and I was actually really surprised because they were like watching their chat like a hawk and reading and stuff and staying on the road. I was like, if I were doing all that, I would be all over the place. And he was actually doing a really good job. I'd never seen the streamer before, so it's not someone I was familiar with. He had a lot of followers and stuff, so he seemed pretty popular, but there were two things I was jealous of watching the stream. One was his setup. He had a triple screen setup like me, only way cooler. I mean, like, you know, big old huge screens. He also had nicer controls and stuff as well. And the other one was his ability to stay on the road while, I swear, he wasn't looking at the road very much. I am a classic case of texting while driving will kill you. He did not seem to be quite along those same lines. Okay, we're about 1 hour game time from our delivery here. I'm going to plan this one better. We are not going to do a cop out and let it park us this time. I could not figure that spot out, though. I'm really not sure what I was supposed to do there. But I'll be doing it again sometime, and maybe I'll figure it out then, or maybe I'll watch another streamer or player do that one and maybe figure out what they did and figure out where I went wrong. I thought I knew what it was going to be like, but it was not like that. I can turn on my brights since there's nobody else on the road. Farmington. Is that where I'm going? No, I'm not going to Farmington, right? I'm going to somewhere else. No, I'm not going to Farmington. Okay, because Farmington's that way. I'm going to... Oh, I'm almost there. Okay. And where am I delivering at? I'm delivering at Coastline Mining, huh? Okay. So, I have been to Farmington, New Mexico in real life, but I've never been to Raton. It was too out of the way for me. I mentioned earlier that I grew up in little town of Blanding, Utah. 3,000 people. And to give you an idea of how small and how isolated it was, and this probably isn't the best metric, but it's a metric that most people understand, at least most Americans. The nearest Walmart was 90 miles away, an hour and a half. And the nearest anything other than Walmart, buying clothes, you know, if you weren't buying them at Walmart or whatever, that's what I want. Any of that was like 2 hours away. And in fact, come on. Okay, I'm not getting that gear. Oh, that's because it was... Oh! What? It thought that I had dropped... Oh, you know what it was? No, I don't know what it was. It does that when I alt-tab out of the game, but I didn't alt-tab out of the game. So I'm not sure why it did it that time, but I just tried to blow my engine. I don't think the game actually does that, but, you know, I tried to. Anyway, so the nearest Home Depot, the nearest Lowe's, the nearest Target, take your pick of anything that's not Walmart that you shop at, was in Farmington, New Mexico, which was 2 hours away. So I wouldn't say that I went to Farmington often, but I went there fairly often, often enough. And in fact, when I was 22 years old, 21 years old, and flew back from Germany, I flew into Farmington, New Mexico. Well, that was the plan. We actually... our plane was delayed in Dallas, Texas. I think is where we flew into, Dallas, Fort Worth. And then because of that, we had a connecting flight to Albuquerque, which we made, or maybe we made a later connecting flight to Albuquerque. But we did not make our connecting flight to Farmington. And so I got to then borrow an ancient Honda Civic from a pilot there who was nice enough to lend it to us. And there were two of us. And drove it from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Farmington, New Mexico. So that's the only time I've ever made that trip. And the only time I've ever been to Albuquerque. Other than in my imagination when watching Breaking Bad. But so that's the only time I've been that far down into New Mexico. I've never been to Santa Fe or anything like that. But Farmington I've been to. And for those of you who know the booming metropolis that is Farmington, you'll see what an achievement that was, having made it to Farmington, New Mexico. Okay, so let's see where they want this trailer. Let's hit enter. Where do I need it? Okay. Oh, that's actually not going to be too bad. So I'll go straight ahead, hang a left, go around. There's probably some trailers up there, but I think we can make this work. And now, when I say, oh, that's not going to be too bad, I'm going to get proven wrong. Oh, I don't need that Jake brake anymore. I'll go ahead and turn on my flashers. Well, that doesn't look so bad. We'll see how it looks when I get up there. Hey, you know what? I think I've got my screen mostly straight now. It's off just a little bit, though. Okay, we can do this. We're only humans, after all. Okay. I think even I can probably do this one. I guess we'll find out, huh? Okay. So let's go ahead and start the process here. Okay. You know what? I gotta stop because I gotta make sure I'm actually putting it where I think I'm putting it. Oh, see, and I'm going way too far over. I'm backing up to that door over there. I thought I was backing it up against the fence. Assumptions. Assumptions, assumptions. Okay, now let's go ahead and get it straightened out here. I have a hard time telling how straight I'm going. I always feel like that one looks like I'm going a very different direction than that one does. But nope, I am not auto parking this one. I've got this one. No, get it over a little. There we go. You know, compared to the last one, this is going to be insanely acceptable, but at least I got it in the marks. Okay. Well, I'll drop the trailer on that. Come on, drop the trailer. And I think I'm about ready to call it on the stream. If I did another delivery, how long have I been streaming? I'm probably going to call it. I usually try and keep it to about an hour. And I made a whopping $107 on that. The economy mod makes things different. And I have broken the $2,000 mark. Woohoo! I can still only borrow $40,000, which means maximum I could spend is $42,000. The only thing that I could possibly get for that much is maybe a modded truck. Okay, let's go to the buy online category. Okay. We'll go visit the selected dealer then. Yeah, let's head to Albuquerque. I mean, I'm not that far away. So see this guy, even the cheapest here, the 389 or 389 is 52,000. If I knew where a Kenworth dealership was, I think that the Kenworth is about the same. So I'd probably be basically in the same boat. I wonder if I could drop to like a 10-speed or a smaller engine and get enough money back to make it work. Nope, 13 speed seems to be the least I can get. How about engine wise? 9,200. I could drop $6,000 that way, which would put me at 46. What if I got a shorter cab? 46. They're all the same. That's not gonna. Okay, I'm still around $10,000 off from buying a truck. So, I guess that's gonna be it. Thanks for anybody and everybody that streamed in. This is Sean Hurst with Essence Stream signing off. Tschüss.